Much has been said about a relationship as marriage and the role of a man in that relationship. I want to throw a little bit of a wrench there and kind of bring a different perspective, a perspective that I believe is more practical, rational, and spiritual oriented than the perspective that you might have heard. Most of this conversation is written by Apostle Paul. We know that Apostle Paul was not married. So, first of all, so he wouldn't be the person to actually give us a lecture and understanding of a marriage relationship. You can argue and say, yeah, he was a man of God and all that stuff. But that I will set aside. I'm not dismissing the fact that the writings there have significant influence on how we relate to God and how we grow spiritually. But Apostle Paul was very keen in his writing. He further informs us that the letter kills and the spirit gives lives. So he was very much aware of this idea that people will take the concept that he's written and construe it to its letter meaning. And therefore, he throws a wrench into all of that and informs us we must be careful in what we interpret or construe that which was written. So when we go back to this idea of a husband and wife, as it is mostly construed, whether it's you're reading Colossians 3:9 or you're reading First Peter's or any other scriptures or letters of the Apostle Paul, I want to be able to kind of remind us. Let's go back to actually the manuscript that was written. So the words that were used that were later translated as a wife or a husband. In Andreas is the word that was used there. It means manly. It means a man. It can be also means a husband. So as well as the word that is used for female, it's gynaikas. I might butcher that pronunciation, but it's gynaikas. That's pretty much, probably I'm pretty much close to that. That means a woman, a female, but also it can mean a wife. So it is very likely that the first person to read the translation must be a male. And coming from a culture or perspective where men are dominant, as most of the cultures have demonstrated. So therefore, he must have taken it from that perspective when he brought that understanding to us in terms of the translation. And this is nothing to say that the person was wrong or not. I'm just bringing a new perspective and see if you can take that perspective and apply in your life, and if you can bring rapid development or a change of experience in your marriage. So that being said, I am very much convinced and confident that the Apostle Paul, when he was writing it, the actual content he was speaking to is a content of a man and a woman, which further informs us from the spiritual perspective. A woman symbolizes your belief system, and a man symbolizes the actions, the things, the environment, the circumstances of the world. And so therefore, as we think logically, he's teaching us to not only think from the perspective of the world, but to align our thinking with the belief system. An example, when he says, husband, love your wives and not be harsh. He's not talking about a relationship of a man and a woman. To me, I am 100% confident of the fact, based on the inspirational understanding and enlightenment that I've received. He's actually talking about you loving your desire to be the person you want to be, so you can form the belief system that is necessary to empower or to create a path toward where you need to be. And that's the relationship. And this concept is practical both in your marriage so as in each and every aspect of our lives, because each and every area of our lives, it's relational. Meaning that my ability to thrive financially, I have to be in a good relationship with money. I have to be in a good relationship with my skills, my employment, my business, my customers. And I'm talking about good relationship. It doesn't mean that I have to operate from action first. I have to think as if I am that person before I can experience or express the quality in need in order to cultivate the relationship or the success or the fruitfulness that we are once looking for. So if you buy into this idea, you're a man and you have to do this, my friend, Where has that gotten you? If you abide to that scriptures from the letter perspective and stand there macho, where has that gotten you in your relationship? It is a question we must ask, because Jesus said you will know them by their fruits. Because the actions we take produce the fruits, and those fruits define or identify who we are based on the original idea that birthed that action that produced the fruits in question. So if your behavior or your experience today is not consistent with your interest, you have followed the wrong vehicle. The vehicle that you've been taught based on the scripture words as it was written. And Paul, Apostle Paul, was very, very careful, or the writer considered to be Apostle Paul, was very careful when he humbly told us, the letter kills, but the spirit gives life. The letter means if you pursue the letter perspective, you are not going to achieve the fruits you want to. And if you do it, you have to do so in toil, in hardship. So that's why relationship, for most people who are following the Bible or the scriptures to the letter, it is hard work. And you hear people say, marriage is work. I've been married for 28 years and it has not been a work. Everything comes natural. It is part of me. And so I see it in my wife. I've never woke up a single day and think, oh my God, I got to work on this marriage. Not at all. Because I've been applying the spiritual aspect of the letter. And the spiritual aspect of the letter, it says husbands, or it says men, meaning that the logical thinker of me have to love a woman. I have to show I should not be harsh. And the scripture says it's not by mighty, by the Spirit of God, says the Lord. So it is not by power that we impregnate or we empower, we impact our thinking. It is through love. So if you go and trying to change your wife to be dominant, or whatever the case it is, you are doing that in vain, and you will toil before you can have the results. I am speaking from every memory I can. It doesn't mean we never had problems. It just means that I have never toiled for it. We will always find reason to smile. We will always find reason to support one another. We've always found reason to stand for one another. Because we do not apply the scriptures from the letter perspective. Every marriage that is failing is not failing because the husband is bad, neither the wife is bad. They are following the wrong blueprint. If you follow the right blueprint, you will enjoy the marriage. And I had people say, no, it was not meant to be. Nothing. Yes, things can expire, can grow. But guess what? You enter into it for a reason. Did you fulfill? Did you experience that which you enter for? And therefore, you are told, in order to enjoy everything we are embarking in, is intended for us to be enriched from that experience, whether it is a bad experience or a good one. I'm not going to say each marriage have to stay together. I'm not even going to be able to prophesy that, because that's not what the scripture is teaching us. The scripture is providing a blueprint, a roadmap on how you can cultivate a relationship that will give you the reward you are looking for. So in this relationship, people say, oh, if a woman does this. If that was true, a lot of marriage within the church would have been standing. And you say, maybe not everyone is following, but they are listening to each every single day. No man, what God puts together, no man can take it apart. If that was true from the content of what it is being said, then no marriage will fall apart, because they are done in church. Let's be practical, and let's look at the spiritual perspective of it. What is that teaching us? So if you're in a relationship, I'm going to just go back in this scripture here, and I'm going to look in the side. Not that I'm distracted, I'm just going to pull the scriptures. It says, husband, love. Actually, the word there is men or manly. So let's use men. Love the women, or love your women, and not be harsh toward them. So if instead of a husband, we're going to use man, and man is a logical thinker. My thinking, the I who think, the rational thinker who would decide, oh, man, this is bad, this is good. That's me. That's the man in question there. So it says, you who is the thinker, you must love your belief system, your desire to become the person you want to be. Not be harsh. Don't force yourself to think or to feel. You let it be natural. Assume the responsibility of being. So an example. I've made a commitment long ago. I didn't even know these laws, this spiritual law. And when I got into my marriage, I said, you know, this marriage must work. Not by force, but I know it has worked. And I just went each and every single day. Even when we had hard time, I just made an assumption that our marriage has worked. And so therefore, I found myself working from the point of view of a working marriage. And because I am working and operating from the point of view of a working marriage, I had to exhibit behavior that brought about a working marriage. And eventually, when we learned that, so we became conscious of the fact. So we both work from that point of view. I don't look at my wife's fault as something bad. Nor does she she might not be displeased, but the only way she can transform that situation is by looking at it from the point of view as of a good marriage. So there are certain things that it could have looked a little bit different if I started looking at it as, oh, she did this. Instead, if I look at the point of view, our marriage is working and whatever we are encountering and dealing with is part of the working process. So I embrace everything and I appreciate each and every experience. And so she does the same. And therefore, that's why I said our marriage has never been a work. Doesn't mean there's no problem, but it's no longer work. It is a way of life. We enjoy each other's company because we're working. I demonstrate my thinking. It doesn't have to do with the men who wear a hat or pants now. It just have that. It says each and every one of us have to think and feel, because our belief system is an assumption of something. So I have to think and assume that I am the person I want to be, not by force, but by assumption, mere assumption. I gotta be, I am this. No. I just assume that I am the person I want to be. And if I can make that assumption natural within me, it must be expressed in my each and every day. I have to approach life from that assumption and carry out behavior that resemble that assumption. So imagine if I am assuming that I have a working marriage, I am happily married, I am going to always working from the point of view of a working marriage, whether being you are a female or a male. It have nothing to do with an individual female or a male as a sex. It just have to do as a state of mind. So you have to operate from a state of mind that your marriage is a fulfilled marriage. It's a working marriage. You might say, Alpha, that's ridiculous. Guess what? You can never, where you are standing or you're sitting, you can never step out of that place and go and get a glass of water unless you made a decision. You thought about the water, whether through looking at somebody else having it, and just by saying that, I feel like I need to have some water. Imagine that. Apologies for that. But my point is, where you are, you can never go. And maybe by watching me drinking water, automatically your mind says you need water and you have acted consistent to go and get water. But if you had not thought of it, it would have been difficult for you to go and get water. Have you been watching a program that is so interesting and you need to go and pee? So your body says it's time to go and pee, but your mind says, I gotta see this. It's almost over. I'm gonna hold it. Because you made a decision to hold it, your actions will be inconsistent. You can never say, I'm going to hold it, and suddenly you stand up and go. Unless it gets so serious and you make a decision, oh, I got to go, shit. Apologize for the words. But that's the nature. And that's what the Apostle Paul is talking about. He says, you have to think first. But what do you think? Do you think based on what is happening? That's what I say you got to love your wives or loves the woman, not by hush. To love is to consistently pursue or be patiently with that which you are looking at. In simple terms, to love is to be attentive to. That which you attend to mentally is an expression of your love toward that thing. Apostle Paul said love is patient. So what is the definition of patient? Being slow, enduring. So your ability to endure, whether pain or joy, is a demonstration of your love toward that which you are enduring. So it says, if you have to endure something that you enjoy. And that becomes the woman, which is your belief system that says you are the person you want to become. So in my coaching, in terms of relationship, I tell people, I have this exercise. I said, okay, can you list what's your pain point? And they say, okay, I have, the first they usually say, oh, my husband did, or my wife did, or this is what my wife, she comes and said, no, I'm not asking what has been done. I'm asking what is that you feel as a result of that which has been done. I feel frustrated. I am angry. I am disappointed. I feel lonely. Yeah, so those are things. I feel like I'm not loved. I'm not worthy. Those are things those are feelings. So once they define the feelings that they're feeling, I said, what is the opposite of that feeling? And of course, they'll say, okay, so if I'm feeling unworthy, they say, I am worthy, because that's my framework called 3I framework. It goes about through that process. Okay, so they say, I am worthy. So you are worthy. That's the expression. That's the statement. That's a feeling you would like to have. Or I'm valuable. That's the feeling you would like to have, because we're naming the opposite. I'm like, okay, great. We're making significant progress here. So at the end of that phase, most of people will say, oh, now I gotta go. So what do I do? And they'll ask me sometimes. I said, oh, what can I do then for my wife to change? I said, no, your wife is not my client. You are my client. So now we've identified that which you want to be, as Paul said, husband. So the logical thinking, now you know what you want to be. I usually tell my client, the next step is become the thing you want to be. Don't go and change your wife to be the thing you cannot even afford yourself to be. Be the thing you want to be. And once you can become the thing you want to be, the other person have no choice but to respond to the same energy level that you have. So it's not about controlling. It's not about changing a person. It's about you transforming to become the person you would have liked the other person to be. Or if they do, I said, no. You change it first. Be that. And if you can be that, I guarantee you will experience difference in your marriage. The reciprocity, what a mouthful word. Reciprocity will come back to the level that you have given out. There's a scripture in the book of Deuteronomy where it says, the children of Israel, in their own eyes, they were like grasshopper. And so they became. We become that which we think of ourselves. And that which we think of others is an impression of who we think of ourselves. If I think of that person is mean to me. Therefore, I think of myself as a victim from that person. And therefore, circumstances will bring about the very experience so that I can experience that which I have become a victim of. I have another subject I talk about this, the one law, but I call it the spiritual law that governs everything in our lives. If you can master that, you have mastered life. It's one law. I'm going to give it to you. I want you to think about it. And maybe you might be able a chance to watch the video that I talk about it. But that law simply says, he or she who has, but it used the word he. And on the video, I'm talking about why that word was used. He used the word he who has, much will be added. He who has, much will be added. But he who has not, even the little they have will be taken away from them. That is a spiritual truth, so as the spiritual law. They have nothing to do with the physical world. It's a spiritual law. Once you understand that, and we talked about he here, as a husband, as a man, it is a logical thinker. So a logical thinker, I'll leave it there, but I want you to ponder upon it so that when you watch that video, you can have a better understanding. But in simplicity, I'm telling you from my personal experience of 28 years. I've been married to one wife, one woman. We have 3 kids, amazing, beautiful kids. And today, my marriage, I feel more in love with my wife, if based on my feeling, my compassionate, my fulfillment, more deeper than I've ever felt before. Not because I'm lucky, not because she's lucky, simply because we're applying this principle. We understand the scriptures, what they say. They speak in parables. And Paul says, if you follow the letter, you will be lost. But if you follow the Spirit, you will create life consistent with that. And the Spirit here teaches us, when you talk about husband, I don't care. Well, you can go and do your thing. But the difference is the results you're getting will be different from the results I'm getting. And if you're happy with your results, then it's good for you. Because I cannot come and tell you something that you're happy with as if it is a bad thing. Because when we all define happiness differently. And that's a different discussion. But regardless, all I'm talking is with those people who are eager to transform their lives, to experience their relationship in a much more comfortable manner than ever before. And this has nothing to do with two of us have to sit down and have this conversation. Not at all. It only have to do with I choose to see myself as a rational thinker, not as a man. I wear pants, I'm the man in this house. If you're a man in this house, then something is wrong with you if you have to define yourself to be a man of the house. In my house, what my wife can do best, I let her do it. And what I can do best, I say, honey, let me do that. Because there is I am a man of the house, I'm a woman. We are all a teamwork here. The goal is to promote this affair to be more healthier than ever before. Then we can continue to enjoy one another and the companionship we've created where we are raising these kids. And when they go and spread their own wings and become their own families, we can continue to flourish and not fall apart. But it begins today. If you wait until that time, and other people will say, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, it's okay. If I can stay in a marriage for 28 years and you've stayed only for 10, I must know something. You might have been staying in for 34 years, but you guys are always quarreling. I must know something. So it's not about the length, it's about the quality throughout that period of time. And it doesn't mean we've never had our hardship. We've had our hardship, we've had our difficultness. But we've managed to thrive through each and every one of them with a smile, with compassionate for one another, because we apply that principle. The principle that says, as a rational thinker, I have to think as if I am the person I want to be. In that capacity, that process of thinking produces a belief system, and that is the woman, symbolizes in the scriptures. So for me to think as if I am, and that concept is the very woman in question. And you're told, don't love her. So I have to persist. I have to keep focus on that. And if I focus on it, results will follow. Which I term in most of my conversation as self-love. Where in the scriptures we're told, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Your neighbor, in that statement that Christ said, because the neighbor is that which is near you. Your experience in life is the very thing that always near you. So your experience is your neighbor. But it says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. It's very, very interesting. So the love for self is more important than the love for the neighbor. The neighbor is the outward experience, while the self is the idea that produced that outward experience. So it says, love that idea. And Paul says, love the wife or love the woman. They're all saying the same thing using different language, but the thing is the same. In this case, this thing is called yourself, as Christ said, while on the other side, Paul referred to it as a woman. a belief system. An idea, a belief system is born out of an idea. So they're kind of one of the same. It's just kind of how far you're stretching to express the same thing. But love your neighbor as you love yourself. So there is an experience you want to have today. And that's where you know your problem. That's why I use this 3I framework, because the 3I framework, it's looking at our way out through the point of our pain. So you identify your neighbor. Said, man, I need some financial freedom. I need a peace of mind. There's so much going on. I need some certainty in my mind. So that experience you're looking for is your neighbor. But don't go out to search for it. That's the key issue. Do not go out in search for it. This is the same analogy that it was beautiful told in the book of Psalms, I think that's what it's called. When he says, I went in search for my lover. He said, as King Solomon wrote it. Said, I look for my lover, and I passed the guards, and I went to the main street looking for him. And when I found him, I brought him back into the chamber that bores me, in my mother's chamber. Apostle Paul, King of Solomon was not talking about a man, nor was he promoting that. And there's nothing, I'm not going to say one or the other. I'm just bringing the contents into practicality. He's saying the same concept that Christ said when he said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. That which he thought that he had to pass the guards, it is the neighbor. But guess what? He didn't go and keep their neighbor out there. He brought the neighbor back in. So he looked out. So today you are looking at your circumstances and you say, my house needed some improvement. I can use a different house. I think I need a different car. I think I need more income so I can meet my obligations. These are things that you're saying. You're looking outward, so you're looking for your lover. You're looking outward, but you say when you look outward, that's your neighbor. He said, do not chase after that neighbor there. Instead, return back and love yourself. Jesus said, love yourself more. Love as much as you would have loved that neighbor. So you have to love yourself first. And to love yourself from that particular scriptures, again, love is to focus, to be willing slowly, to endure, to be patient. So that which I focus in my mind as it relates to what I saw outside of me as a need becomes myself, because I'm becoming that person. I keep focusing it, I become myself. I'm becoming the thing I focus on. So that's why I say, love thyself as they love their neighbor. So I've looked at the neighbor as a song, Songs of Songs said, I went out into the gate and I passed the guards. Your senses are your guards, always protecting you from the outside circumstances, telling you where you are so you can act consistent in order to remain safe. Those are the guards. 3 scriptures speaking the same thing in different manner. So I want to encourage my brothers and sisters, especially my brothers out there. If you want to have a happy marriage, I am telling you, you can only have that by applying things from the spiritual perspective. Today, you are in trouble with your marriage. Things are not rosy. You're being squeezed out from the joy you used to have, from that spark that made you smile, and you were moving like a little child, and everybody and everything of your bone was moving when you saw her. And if suddenly you are stiff, there's no smile, it has gone, there's no intimacy. Guess what? If there's no intimacy, I don't have to go farther. Sex is very limited. And if all of those things are happening in your marriage, I have something to share with you. Take those scriptures, and everybody else is telling you that because you've been doing that, set them aside and test what I just shared with you. Ask yourself, apply my 3I framework. The first thing you have to ask is, say, what pain am I going through here? I feel alone. Not what she did. We often start, oh, she did this. No. We're not talking about he or what she did. Let's start with, what pain are you experiencing? So you're going to say, I'm feeling lonely, unhappy. I'm feeling unworthy. I'm feeling whatever you're feeling. I'm feeling whatever it is. Name the feeling. And you might feel 4, 5, 6 things. An example, I had a client who said they were feeling unworthy. Name is Jay. Can say his last name, but he said, I'm feeling unworthy. He told me it's okay to say his first name. So I'm feeling unworthy. That's what he told me. He was feeling unloved. He didn't feel like he's loved, he's appreciated. He didn't feel that he deserved good because he hasn't seen good in his marriage for quite some time. They've been battling, arguing. It has been a toxic, it's like they're in a battle zone. This one is throwing this torpedo, this one is throwing the another torpedo. This one is just back and forth. But bills always have a way to bring them together. They will sit and take care of the bills together. So that's how Jay experienced his marriage. And so he told me, he gave me all these, it was probably about 8 feelings that he was going through. And he's feeling all of them at once. So he was exhausted. He decided to work longer hours like many men do. He started watching sports. He indulged in smoking, and he started going and drinking. And he was doing a little bit of marijuana, recreation. And he started adding pills into it because he was so stressed. His productivity at work was not at par. His health was not getting better until we met. So with Jay, we did a very simple thing. I started there. I said, Jay, I'm not going to waste your time. No, I don't want you to waste mine. So let's get to work. And he said, I've doing this for so long. I want a reprieve. I said, okay, let's get started. And we started. I said, okay, let's begin with our process. The process is, what are you feeling? What is your pain point? And he said, these are the, so he gave me those lists. I said, okay, let's look at them closely. By the time we were done, really, he was feeling unworthy. Because of the feeling unworthy, he felt all the other things as well. Because there were so many other things he was feeling. He felt like he was not loved. So I said, if you are worthy, would you feel loved? He said, yeah, because I'm feeling good. So people will love me. I said, okay. So if you feel this, will you feel like you're participating in your marriage? He said, yes, if I feel worthy. Then I said, okay. So unworthy is the biggest piece. If we pull it out, the rest falls apart. Yes. I said, so what is the opposite? Because that's a process called idealization. You have to identify the pain and you have to cure it. You don't cure it by going to see a doctor, either a psychologist. You cure it by just psychologically changing your point of view. And Jesus said, if don't resist evil, that means don't focus on the things that they're irritating you. I don't care who you are. If you keep looking at the irritant, you're going to be irritated. But an irritant can stand there. If you're not paying attention to the irritant, it will not affect you because you're not paying attention. So attention is the key. Again, I mentioned earlier on that the book Letter to the Colossians, it's referring to attention. Where are you focusing on? Are you going to focus from outside? Your thinking and your environment. Do not be conformed by this world. The world is your surrounding, not the world as the universe. It's your surrounding, is your world. Do not be conformed. Do not look at it and let draw conclusion from it. He said by the renewal of the mind. And that's what he tells about the husband, and then which is men and women, the logical thinker and the belief system. You have to look inward instead of outward. So now we identify with Jay, we're able to identify that which Jay wants. Said, okay, Jay said, man, I would feel really good if things works well, man, if I can smile at home, if I can, man, Alpha, you don't understand what this means. I said, I understand because I'm living that every single day. And that's the reason why I'm doing this job, because I know it's possible. I was not trained. I grew up in an environment where my dad had 2 wives. And there was a point when I was young, we were having much fun. We were living life very well, even though my dad had 2 wives. But eventually the relationship got so toxic. We stopped having fun. My dad's marriage more likely became work. Like many of you men, your marriage becomes work instead of being a joyful experience. So with Jay, we did that. And when we identified, I said, Jay, can you be that person? He said, man, Alpha, I don't know. How can I be the person? I haven't. I said, no. I'll walk you through. So we jump into a second step called idealization. Idealization is simply identifying yourself, or make it personal. Introduce yourself, taking an identity of the thing that you want or you have identified as an ideal. So Jay had to take this identity of being worthy. So he said, but I said, no. What made you feel unworthy? Or what made you think you were unworthy? He said, I feel. I said, there you go. You use the word feeling. You're using feeling to express something. So you are feeling unworthy, so you behave as if you are unworthy. You interpret every action. Oh, she comes home, she won't even see me, she'll be busy on the phone. Guess what? There are times I walk in the house and I have a tendency, and my wife does the same thing. If there's an important call, she will finish it up in the car. And I do the same thing. If I have to attend to something on the phone important or require my attention here still, I'll finish it up in the car. So that when I come into the house, I pay attention to what is happening in the house, especially for my wife and my kids. So we do that. But there are times when, it's cold, Minnesota here. So it gets really cold. I'm like, I might maybe park the car in the garage, but I cannot sit in the garage for that period of time. So I'm like, I'm just going to walk inside the house. And I will walk in the house and I'll be finishing up. I might stand by the door there doing something else. We'll finish up that conversation or whatever it is on the phone, and then walk all the way into the house. But because I'm aware, but somebody else who is not aware, they may just walk into the house and they're busy on the phone trying to do their things. And before they know, when they're done with the phone, everything else is finished. They've spent an hour to 2 hours before they say hi to their spouse. And so you who's watching from an inferior point of view, you're going to say, oh, she's not respecting me and all that stuff. While another person will see, because sometimes I've done it and my wife will look at me and just smile. I get the message. And sometimes she'll walk out and do that. And I'm like, and I'm smiling. And she gets the message. There's not much verbalization. She understands. Or she'll just come and give me a hug and give me a kiss and then go on about doing what she's doing. And I respect that. I'm not feeling inferior. So, but it's because I'm operating from a confidence point of view. And so is my wife. And for Jay, so he started building confidence because he was reading so much signs from his wife. And they were stressing him and he was reacting. And they ended up getting into this shouting match. It's like those times when you had in the United States here in some of the states where you had, I think President Donald Trump said there was good people on both sides, and which was true. There were good people on both sides. And this is what is happening in marriage. You want to tell me those people in the marriage, Jay and his wife, are bad people? No, they're good people. But they have different philosophy and they want to express them passionately. Because Jay, it looks like it is his wife as if she's rubbing off him. She's not respecting him, and he's a man. He needs to be respected. I said, Jay, calm down, calm down. When you were born and they said you were a male and you maintain that sex, you're a male. Nobody can come and change that. Anybody's behavior cannot change your sexual orientation. Any man who says, I am a man and I'm a man, they have issue with their personal confidence. Their self-image is a little bit scratched off. And I explained that to Jay. And I said, let's build that personality. So he worked on it. And I have a process, a sequence that you have to do, activities that you got to be, because you got to cultivate it. So Jay cultivated the ideal introduction process. And when we're done with the introduction, when he clearly defined and defined the feeling, the image that he want to have, that is consistent with the ideal he created. He jumped into the third step, which is iterate. So he started iterating, repeating those feelings, those thoughts consistently, repeatedly, and he did it. In fact, after 2 weeks, Jay spoke a little bit better. When he was coming from group meetings, he was more confident. You could tell from his tone. And not only that, he was more confident, there was life in his voice. You could tell the difference. And one day, actually, I did. I said, I told my wife, I said, I might just be thinking, because some of the conversation we record it for the purpose of training. And I use them for actually trying to see if the person within the group, I'll listen to their tone. Are they improving? Because if they're not, I want to kind of pull them aside and say, can we have a conversation? What's really going on still? Are you doing the exercise? Are you engaging? Or you're just showing up? Because I don't want people just to show up. I want people to actually do the work so that they can experience the transformation. My program is a result-based program. So I have to see the results. I'm like that coach that said, you know what? I don't see you playing very well in this team, man. What's going on? So I was listening to Jay. I'm like, actually, I think he's improving. So I asked my wife, I said, can I play the beginning of Jay and the middle Jay? I said, can I play with this? So I played the voice. And she said, okay. And later I play the middle J. And she's like, wow, is that the same person? I said, yeah. He said, yeah. So I didn't ask much. I got the message. Yeah, he changed. There was improvement in his voice. There was life. And then eventually he was talking passionately about his wife. Seriously, is the woman that he used to use the B word. But all of a sudden, whenever he referred to her, he was referred to her as his best friend, his companion, his queen. And I'm like, okay, this is a change of language. It's interesting. But this is the man who didn't even believe on the program to begin with. He believed that he could not be changed. Actually, he was saying his wife cannot be changed because he was always projecting his negativity to his wife. I said, I'm not dealing with your wife. He said, but I said, Jay, you paid for this program because you want to assume that I know something. So let me take that assumption out of the equation and give you the confidence that I know what I'm saying. Because that's the key. I've been there where I go and pay for programs and criticize the person who's delivering the program as if I am the one who knows. Oh, that doesn't make sense. I'm saying into my voice. But eventually I had to humble myself. If I'm paying for something, I might as well be willing to listen. I might not learn a whole lot, but I will learn something from it. And every time because of that attitude, I've learned so much from people. Even in the conversation where people seems like I'm like, oh, am I not going to learn anything from this? Nope, I'm learning to tone down and let it be. So the same thing I tell my clients, please listen to what I'm saying. Let's engage. Trust me. I'm not going to ask you to go and kill somebody. I'm not going to ask and tell you to go and borrow from somebody or to go and take something from somebody. I'm not going to ask. All the things I'm going to ask you is between you and me. You do you, not outside of you. Nor will I ask you to go and ask your wife to come in this. I said, no, actually, I will not entertain that. If it comes natural, let it come. And it has many times has come because a wife is seeing the development and she's like, I gotta get whatever you're getting. I gotta drink whatever you're drinking. And therefore she end up taking a program. But it's not because it's required. No. If you change, she change. And Jay started with, like I said, idealization, introduction, and then he iterate, and his life started changing. Today, Jay is doing very well. And Jay is just one of those people who have done it by using those principles. We didn't go and say, man, this is men, and men have to behave. No, there is no such a thing in scriptures. In fact, the scripture does not discriminate between a man and a female. It's always referenced a man as a logical thinker, the one who is looking from the outward environment, rational, you want to call it, illogical, while the woman is symbol of a spirit, the belief system, that which comes from within. There have to be a marriage between the two. Of course, when these writings were done, people were getting married. So they were drawing inferences from that which they were seeing from their community, from the society, to explain this law, this spiritual aspect of things that they have been inspired to be able to share with others. And that's what it's all about. So if you're a man, don't walk around and trying to tell your family, your wife, that you're a man. To me, actually, that's you're minimizing your role as an individual, as a person. Instead, follow that principle. He said, love your wives or love the woman. Simply, it says, love the belief system. Pay attention to the belief system that reflect the thing you want to be physically. And if you can do that, you will be transformed yourself. You will become the person of that belief system. And once you become the person of that belief system, you become the belief system itself. The moment you are the belief system itself, you have to behave consistent with that belief system. And because you behave consistent with that belief system, your actions will be different. And so your experience will change. You will see things not from the eyes of this is bad, this is good. You will see things from this is what is going to promote this relationship. And you will take actions. You will behave. There are certain things. I will be sitting watching a movie and I'm just touching my wife. I'm kind of rubbing her back. She didn't ask. She didn't try to itch and reach so that I'm no. And she's like, oh my God, how did you know that I need that? Because I assume I am in a marriage that is very successful, is very happy. And because I made that assumption, I have to behave, whether I know or not. There's sometimes I just walk in and she'll be in the kitchen busy doing something, and I'll just stand by the door and I just look and say, oh my God, what a beautiful woman she is. How amazing she is. I just feel it. Not because it's because that's the person I have assumed to be. So I have to see beauty consistent on the person I assume to be. She will look at me and she said, man, you are the most handsome man I've ever seen. She'll talk about my dimples. I'm like, what the heck? What are you talking about? But her compassionate, her words warms me up, just as mine warms her up. And just the same thing, I look and say, man, you look, I cannot imagine how lucky I am to have you in my life. And guess what? She looked, she's like, what did I do? But it's natural coming. I'm not forcing this because I am operating from the assumption that I am this person. And because I made that assumption, I have to behave consistent with this person. So words will come out of me without even thinking of them. Behaviors will come through without thinking. Consideration. There are certain things that maybe if I would have thought of, I would have not done it. But suddenly they are natural, just proceed out of me in order to cultivate the experience that I assume that I am. And that's the magic of this process. It is true no matter where you are, no matter what you're experiencing. My mentor, even though I never really had a physical exchanging from, but reading his book, following some of the things he did, it simply he have this thing he call it the law of assumption. So what you assume, and you assume things, not be say, I'm assuming this is true. No, your assumption is consistent with the thing that you focus on. That which you focus in your mind, when you every time you're saying, man, this economy, I know this party, that person, you made an assumption that is the reality consistent with that person. And consistent with that assumption, you will always experience the same feelings, the same outcome whenever you encounter that person, that circumstance, that situation. You will always experience that. I've been there. There are certain things that I'm still working out on myself based on that assumption. So I encouraging you, if you have any situation that you're going through in your marriage, that you have tried everything else and you're willing to give it a shot for something else. And this have nothing to do, maybe your marriage have already fallen apart to a point where you feel like it cannot be solved. And I've met clients who have been there and they were able to turn around their marriage. Not because that was the logical thing, it's because they worked on themselves. And because they work on themselves, their behaviors are demonstrated out in their daily interaction. And their spouse started noticing. And suddenly they started falling in love again. And the next time, this time, it is a completely different situation. Their love is much more stronger than ever before, more fulfilling than ever before. They know how to mitigate one another. They're not doing it because they were taught a particular formula. They do it because it is natural. It's different. When you do because you were taught. Say, oh, you got to do these 5 principles, and it's okay to have principles. You got to do these 5 laws. It's okay to have laws if you're a person of law. But I just apply that. I want things to come natural. I don't want to think hard. I'm like, should I smile now? Should I show her? Should I go and buy flowers? If it's inspired of me to get the flower, I will find myself in a place where I can get the flowers that I can afford, and I don't have to break the bank. And when I bring them home, she will appreciate, and I'll be celebrated because of that. That's the fact. Always operate as if it's from a natural point of view, not forced. That's truly the meaning of being in the Garden of Eden, a place where you do really nothing, but things become. You still engage and participate in the world, but they become so easy. You don't have to work for it. Anybody who's laboring and toiling in their relationship, they are working from outside the Garden of Eden. That's what it says, the scriptures. So you don't want to, you're tired of toiling? You're tired of being squeezed out of that marriage? It is time, my friend. Let's change the game and let's put you in a place where you most deserve, you're required to have your promised land, your joy, your peace of mind, and be able to enjoy and love life, the fullness of it. It's not too late. It's never late. They say that. I didn't say it. I don't know who said it, but they said the best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago. But the next best time is now. I hope that makes sense. And if you want some help, click the link below or keep watching some of these videos I share every time. You might grasp or get something and try, and it might work. But in my program, it's a more formalized process. Either way, I'm going to provide the link in this description below. Check it out and see if it fits you. Then they said if it doesn't fit, you can't convict. It means it's not for you. But if it fits you, then take it and make the best out of it so you can become better than the best you've ever been. Until then, my friend, I'll be back.